He smelled like cigarettes, rust, and rain, and still I could not look away. Maybe it was his eyes, hollow but defiant, or maybe it was the way his body shook even as he tried to stand tall in that ruined hoodie. Whatever it was, I knew I was about to ruin my life when I pulled $20 from my wallet. "Here," I said, my voice breaking in a way I did not expect. The man blinked at me, slow, almost suspicious, like kindness was a trap he had already fallen into too many times. The train station around us buzzed faintly with the sound of an announcement over the PA system, but it felt like the world had narrowed into just him and me. His lips parted, trembling as if words wanted to escape but were too proud to beg. That was the night I met him. The night I traded $20 for a story that would rewrite everything I thought I knew about love, loyalty, and the dangerous fragility of the human heart. His name was Alex, or at least, that was what he told me after a long silence, eyes darting away as if even saying his own name might put him in danger. His voice was deep, hoarse from nights on the street. There was a dignity to him, even in rags, something I couldn't reconcile with the fact that he was clutching a bill like it was oxygen. I wanted to ask what had brought him here, why someone who looked like he had once been carved from sunlight was now shivering under the shadow of a train platform in New York City. But instead, I only said, "Come with me, just for tonight. You shouldn't be out here." The way he looked at me like I was offering him more than shelter, maybe like I was offering danger, should have scared me. But it didn't. Taking him home was reckless, and every step we walked together down the slick, neon-stained sidewalks of Manhattan felt like a dare to the universe. My apartment wasn't much, a shoebox above a laundromat, but to him, it must have looked like a palace. He stood in the doorway, wet hair dripping, eyes darting over the couch, the bookshelf, the framed picture of my parents on the wall. "You don't know me," he muttered. "I know you need a place," I replied, and for the first time he smiled, small and broken, like it hurt him to let light in. Weeks turned into months. Alex never asked for much. He ate little, cleaned obsessively, and sometimes disappeared onto the fire escape at night to stare at the city like it was a lover he'd betrayed. But there were cracks, tiny, haunting slips that made no sense. The way his hands moved when he typed on my laptop, too fast, too practiced. The way he spoke when he was half asleep, corporate jargon spilling out like a ghost from another life. And once, when he thought I wasn't looking, he folded my discarded shirt with the precision of someone raised by perfection, not chaos. I should have known he wasn't who he claimed to be. The truth broke through one rainy afternoon. When the television blared a news report I wasn't paying attention until his face appeared on the screen. Alexander Grant, CEO of Grant Technologies. Missing for over a year. My heart stuttered. The man in the photo was polished, hair slicked back, a bespoke suit hugging his shoulders. But those eyes, I would have known them anywhere. I turned to him. He had gone still, too still, like prey cornered by a predator. "You," I whispered. His silence was confirmation enough. I wanted to scream. I wanted to demand why a man who had an empire had taken my $20 like it was lifeblood. Instead, all I could say was, "Why?" He laughed, then sharp, bitter. The sound of a man who had carried too many secrets too long. "Because no one sees me out there," he said, gesturing to the glittering skyline beyond the rain-streaked window. Up there, I was a name, a company, a figure in a magazine. But on that train platform, with $20 in my hand, I was human. "You saw me. You." And for once, I didn't want to run back. It should have been the end. A line drawn between two worlds, mine, ordinary and fragile, his, gilded and ruthless. But the world has a cruel sense of humor. The story of the missing CEO resurfaced, louder, sharper. There were whispers of betrayal, corporate conspiracies, a family that wanted him erased. And in the middle of it all was meth, nobody who had given him a place to hide. When they came for him, when men in black suits waited outside my building, I knew our time was up. He took my hands then, gripping them so hard it hurt. "If I go back, they'll destroy me," he said, voice cracking for the first time. "But if I stay, they'll destroy you. What do we do, baby?" And God help me, When he called me that baby, I knew I was already ruined. The night they came for him is still burned into my memory, the pounding on the door, the way Alex's jaw tightened as if every nightmare had finally found him. He was a CEO, a missing man, a scandal waiting to be fed to the tabloids. And I was nobody, just a stranger who once handed him $20. Go, I whispered, my chest caving in. Run while you can. But he didn't. He turned to me, those storm-gray eyes flashing with something rawer than fear. No, not without you. That was the moment I knew whatever demons chased him, whatever secrets dragged him into the shadow's eye, was already too deep. Love doesn't ask permission. Simply takes, consumes, and leaves you praying you can survive the fire. The months that followed were hell. Courtrooms, news cameras, betrayals so sharp they left invisible wounds. His board of directors accused him of fraud. His family whispered that he had lost his mind. Headlines called him the vanished heir, the broken genius, the liar in a hoodie. And through it all, I was there standing beside a man the world thought destroyed, reminding him he was still human, still loved. There were nights he broke down, fists clenched, tears hot against my shoulder. They'll never forgive me, he muttered. And every time I cupped his face, made him look at me. They don't need to. You have me. It wasn't easy. Loving him meant facing stares on the street, whispers in cafes, relatives who asked why I couldn't find someone normal. America, for all its slogans of freedom, still sharpened knives for boys who loved boys. Some nights, walking hand in hand felt like walking a tightrope between hope and danger. But he never let go. Neither did I. The turning point came in a conference room so cold it felt like a morgue. Reporters swarmed as Alex stood before cameras, dressed not in Armani but in a plain navy suit, sleeves slightly wrinkled because he had dressed himself, not a stylist. My name is Alexander Grant, he began, voice steady. I disappeared because I was drowning in a life that made me a product, not a person. I was betrayed by people I trusted, by systems I built. But in losing everything, I found something I never had before, someone who saw me not as a CEO, not as a brand, but as a man. Then he looked straight at me. In front of a world that had tried to erase him, he chose to see only me. I will not apologize for surviving. I will not apologize for loving him. The room went silent, and then applause, scattered at first, hesitant but real. We fought hard for happiness, Alex and I. The lawsuits dragged, the press spun wild stories, and every day felt like a battle. But love, stubborn and defiant, has its own gravity. Slowly, painfully, the noise faded. He rebuilt his company, brick by brick, not as an empire of cold ambition but as a haven for people like him, people who knew what it was to be lost. And with every sunrise, I watched him heal. Not into the polished CEO the world remembered, but into something better. A man who laughed at burnt pancakes, who kissed me goodnight no matter how exhausted he was, who whispered baby into my ear when he thought I was half asleep. The wedding was his idea. Why? I asked one night as he traced circles on my palm. We already have each other. Because, he said softly, the boy I fell in love with gave me $20 and a second chance at life. The man I want to marry deserves the whole world knowing I'm his. I cried then, shamelessly, and he only held me tighter. On the day itself, sunlight spilled over the garden like a blessing. Rows of white chairs faced an arch woven with wildflowers. Friends, allies, and even some strangers who had become family sat waiting. My heart thundered so loudly I thought it might drown out the music. And then I saw him, Alex, walking down the aisle toward me, no longer a runaway, no longer a ghost. His suit fit him perfectly, but his smile, God, his smile was still that fragile, broken thing I had seen the first night, only now patched with love. He looked at me as if the world had narrowed to this one moment, this one vow. When he reached me, he took my hands. His fingers trembled, but his voice did not. You saw me when I was invisible, he whispered. You loved me when I was unlovable. Baby, I promise, for the rest of my life, you will never have to doubt what you mean to me. The vows blurred in my ears, but his words anchored me. When it was my turn, I spoke from the only place I knew me heart. You walked into my life carrying nothing but pain and a lie, I said, and I'd do it all over again. Because the man I met at a train station is the same man standing here now, someone worth fighting for, worth believing in, worth loving. Always. The officiant's voice broke through, but I barely heard it. All I knew was Alex's lips on mine, the way the crowd erupted, and how for once, the world felt kind. Later, when the music played and people toasted, Alex pulled me aside under a canopy of fairy lights. His forehead pressed against mine, his breath warm against my ear. "Do you regret it?" he asked quietly. I laughed through tears, shaking my head. "Not for a second." He kissed me, slow and certain, then whispered the word that had once terrified me with its intimacy. "Baby." And for the first time in forever, the word didn't feel like a risk. Felt like home. Because love isn't about $20 or missing CEOs or scandalous headlines. It's about the boy who saw a stranger in a train station and chose him anyway. It's about the man who lost everything but found the one thing he could never buy. It's about us. And in that moment, with his hand in mine and forever stretched out like a promise, I knew we had already won. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the latest videos.